Very often we're quick to criticize the social media and how much time people spend on Facebook and Twitter and all of those. But I was reminded today as we got prayer requests for other people how quickly God's people can be praying and how quickly they can be aware of needs and problems that other saints are having. And so there's a lot of good that can come out of social media. It gives us quick information. In the days of Jesus and Paul, people would have to travel 30 to 40 miles on foot to get a report. And such is the case in 1 Thessalonians 3, beginning at verse 6. It says, "But now that Timothy has come to us from you, has brought us a good news of your faith and love, that you always think kindly of us, longing to see us just as we also long to see you." Well, that's a wonderful report, but it took days for the report to get back so that Paul could know. And if there had been a prayer request that was involved in Timothy's coming back, it would have taken quite a bit of time for it to get to him. Whereas in just a few minutes, we can get involved in someone on their way to the hospital with a serious ailment, some important tests that have to be run, and we can be praying immediately. It's really wonderful when you think about it. And the one thing that we want to be careful that we don't do is become complacent or become less sympathetic to people because so much of that information gets to us so quickly. For example, one of my favorite illustrations of having become complacent or not having the kind of compassion we ought to have for one another is major surgery is anything that's done to us, and minor surgery is anything that's done to others. Yeah, we have a lot more compassion for people when we've been experiencing the same kinds of problems that they've been having. Someone has knee surgery and you've had knee surgery, you have a lot more compassion for what they're going through. Someone has hip surgery, when you've had hip surgery, then you have more compassion for someone that's going through that. And so when Paul is writing here in 1 Thessalonians 3, he says, "And may the Lord cause you to increase and abound in love for one another and for all people, just as we also do for you, so that he may establish your hearts without blame in a holiness before our God and Father at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ with all of his saints." Compassion, concern, prayers, they're very, very important. Not too long ago, we were talking in a missions meeting at the Polk Association, and we were talking about the very fact that so often we now find that there are two kinds of ministers in the church. Those that are preachers, that is, that they preach and write books and do other things, and those that are pastors, those that visit the hospitals, those that counsel, those that visit in the homes, those that write notes when someone is sick or make phone calls. And I can tell you firsthand, it's a very comforting thing, just as Paul felt comfort in the report of Timothy, a very comforting thing when you know somebody who truly cares about what's going on in your life, takes the time to make a phone call, even to make an email, or to post that they're praying when somebody puts a request on the internet. So let's take advantage of today's technology. Let's have the compassion. Let's bring about the comfort. Let's bring about the concern that God would have us to have for one another, especially when we've been through what they've been through and know the pain and discomfort and the difficulties that they may be experiencing. 1 Thessalonians 3:6 tells us very clearly that Timothy, when he came back, brought comfort to Paul. And hopefully some of Paul's writings that went back to the Thessalonians and to those that Timothy had been with brought comfort to them. And so should we as Christians try to comfort one another in difficult times. Even though we may have friends in Florida whose daughter-in-law is going through difficult times, we can be praying here and we can be right up to date on what's going on in her life. Someone right here in our community, though, 6 to 8 miles away that is being rushed to the hospital with the possibility of blood clots and other complications from surgery. We can be praying even before they get to the hospital that the doctors would quickly diagnose and that there wouldn't be any serious problems. Yes, social media has its negatives, and a lot of things are mistaken on the internet. A lot of it's false news. A lot of it may be over dramatization. But there's an awful lot of good things we can do with social media. And this video is one of those things. We can challenge one another and exhort one another towards more righteous living, having more compassion for one another, and brotherly love for one another. And I hope that that's what your thought is today. God bless you and have a great day.